All right, so I'm just trying to square up this new panel. I got my hole drilled for my propane. I need to take this back out. I need to trim about a 1/16 of an inch off of this side, and then about a 1/16 of an inch in that back corner as well. So I'm going to pull this back out, get that cut. And I've got, you can see, that's where the water heater propane is. The water heater's right there. That's where the propane feed for the water heater is. So I'll get that fitting taken back off. It's just snugged up by hand right now because I'm just dry fitting. Trim those edges up and then get it reinstalled and secure it with some screws. You don't want to introduce any contaminants into the propane system, so I would recommend throwing just a piece of tape or something over this fitting so you don't allow any debris or anything to get in the line. All right, got it recut, kind of trimmed up and dry fit. This propane line put back on. Alright, that's put back in, and I'll get it snugged up once the panel is actually attached. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I've got the panel up. It's just temporarily braced for now, but I'm going to go ahead and get my propane line snugged back up. And got my holes drilled for my tie-down bracket. I am going to reinforce this with some steel plate. There's a steel plate on top going this way, and I'm going to put a steel plate on the bottom between the fiberglass and the tie-down bracket. And of course I've got to get the tie-down bracket cleaned up and repainted, but got some galvanized steel. I'm doing 2 plates. Holes are already drilled in this one. That'll be the template for the holes that I drill in this one, and then they get construction adhesive in between each, and then this will go on with all new grade. Obviously that bolt, all the bolts were shot, but I'm going to go get new grade, either grade 5 or grade 8. I'm not sure what they'll have at the hardware store to fit in that top bracket that's up there. So go to the hardware store and get those parts, and then get back here. And there's a lot of little odds and ends jobs that need to be done. I'm not going to film everything. So when I come back, I'll get the bracket cleaned up and painted, let that dry overnight, and then get all that stuff mounted up, and then I can actually finalize, secure that panel in there with the adhesive and some screws. I am using coated screws. I'll show you what I'm using here. Got this big bin of coated screws. That's what I'm going to use to run through the sidewall, so through the aluminum frame and into the new panel. And then of course the steel brackets, the L brackets that I'm building, that I'm fabbing up, will go from the outside of the aluminum framing across the bottom where that bracket goes. So that'll tie everything together really good. All right, so I got that line snugged back up. Obviously I need to seal that hole, but I'm going to reuse this little protective sleeve that fits over the line and up in there, and it's just secured with some screws. You can see how they did it here. Of course, this one's going to come off because this panel gets replaced as well. But I get that all put on, and then I'll run a good bead of sealant all around that hole. All right, I'm getting these brackets sprayed. Look at that. I had to pull the water heater because that bracket, you can see these bolts. get one out. There we go. They're couldn't find grade 8, so these are just galvanized. This is exactly what was in there, but they're carriage bolts. Of course, that bracket has, so they don't spin, it has the square holes. So I had to pull the water heater out, so it gave me access to that bracket. It's really not that big of a deal. This water heater is just gas, no direct spark ignition, no electric element or anything like that. So it's just a matter of removing all the screws, cutting the foam insulator, which will go back on and get taped in place. Pull it out, give me access to that. So that's fine. I'll be able to kind of bracket up that shoulder wall as well. So it is what it is. A little extra work, but it'll be all right. So anyway, the bracket's almost dry. I'm going to get that installed, get the bracket tightened up and torqued, and get that water heater reinstalled. It's supposed to rain again tonight, so it's kind of put a little delay on getting this project done. I haven't even started the roof yet, just because we've got well, finally, I'm glad we're getting it, some rain out here in Northern California, so it's good. But get this water heater reinstalled, shore up the floor, or that shoulder, get everything sealed up with some caulking and some good sealant. I'm using the OSI, the same stuff I used last time. I'll put it in the link in the description, exactly what I'm using. It's the OSI brand, really good stuff, and yeah, that's what I'm using for sealing up that shoulder. And then of course all the trim work and everything, that'll be butyl tape. I've got a ton of new butyl tape, and then some ProFlex sealant across the edge there. All right, I got my water heater reinstalled. The only thing I need to do is get my high temperature sealant to go around this little grommet. Don't forget to do that. And the new panel put in with the new tie down, well, not new tie down bracket, but the repainted tie down bracket and new bolts, and the metal plate there. And I'm going to get this panel put in. Oh, I've already got my propane line sealed up there. That's the line that goes to the water heater. So got the panel cut for this area, and get that adhesive put on and get that put into place. All right, so that piece of galvanized trim was still in good shape. I just cleaned it up on the wire wheel, and got everything sealed up, in the corners here. I just didn't do this corner because of course this skirt's coming off. After the new skirt gets put on, I'll of course get all this stuff sealed up, leaving this piece of trim off because it's part of the skirt. The rest of it will come off. You can see how rotten that is when I rebuild the skirt. That'll be probably later in the week or next week. Got some jobs coming up, so this might have to get put on hold a little bit. The weather's been pretty good. About 75 degrees, so I'm not complaining there. A little bit of rain, but not too much. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna finish the rest of that up next week, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Later.